Hey everybody, welcome back to another video, and in this video today, at the request of Tom the Animator YT, we will be talking about the story of the Colonel. Now, to be completely honest, the Colonel isn't in too much Markiplier projects, so I might have to be talking a bit more about Wilford Stash as well. So if any of y'all want to see a video where I talk about something specific in the Markiplier lore, it doesn't even have to be in the Markiplier lore, it can just be something in general, then make sure to put it in the comments below and I will get to it eventually. Sorry Tom, it's been 6 days, but now the wait is over. So without further ado, let's begin. So throughout the Colonel's lifetime, he's had a friend group of 3 people, including himself. You had him, you had Actor Mark, and you had Damien. And these 3 paintings kind of explain how their relationship was. At first it was just the trio, and then Damien's sister Celine came into play and started dating Actor Mark. And then in this final picture, this final third picture, kind of hard to see, but that one's just Actor Mark and Damien, I'm pretty sure, meaning that the Colonel left with Celine and pretty much stole Celine from Actor Mark. Oh, and also somewhere in between there, the Colonel got sucked into the game Jumanji. No, I am not joking. Markiplier actually confirmed that the Colonel getting sucked into Jumanji is actually canon to the Markiplier lore.
I wanted him to look exactly like that.
And you said the Jumanji line.
Yeah, and then the Jumanji line. So now canon, he's been in the Jumanji game at some point in his
Amy.
life. Bully!
Good enough, Sonny Jim.
Life needs a bit of madness, chap?
And also, as I was getting footage for this video, I came across a couple of details that made me question a few things.
Besides, you're not my boss anymore.
Not because of murder in my own home!
So in that first clip, the chef was saying that he didn't work for the Colonel anymore. And in that second clip, the Colonel was calling Actor Mark's mansion his home. At first, this kind of confused me, so I ended up going to the Who Killed Markiplier explained video in search for answers. And lo and behold, it was answers I received.
In my own home.
In my own home. So this is just where, like, it's spelling it out a million ways. The Colonel used to live here. He considers this place his own. So whereas Damien and Mark were childhood friends, the Colonel and Mark, they're not brothers, but they're the same age and they grew up in this house, which, I don't know. Like, some people, I was debating whether or not to make them actually brothers or not, but either way, functionality is the same. They grew up together in this house.
So that actually pretty much explained it pretty well right there. The chef has been working for Actor Mark for a very, very long time, and the Colonel, he was just living with Actor Mark the whole time as well. I guess that kind of explains how the Colonel could very easily steal Celine from Actor Mark whenever Celine came into the picture. Literally. And we do also know that Damien did not live with Actor Mark and the Colonel, even though he was very good friends with them. But then all this brings up an even bigger question. Why did the Colonel move out? We know that he even moved out in the first place because of at the very beginning of Who Killed Markiplier Chapter 1, when you see him entering the building as well, just like you. And I think the reason he moved out has been right in front of our faces for a long time. It's in his name, the Colonel. A colonel is usually an army officer of high rank, so there's a chance that he moved out of Markiplier's mansion because he needed to go to the army. It's either that, or it's that he ran off with Celine. You know, that's probably the more timeline-making sense, straightforward answer. But I do believe that at least sometime during his lifespan before he became Wilford Stash, he went into the army. So now, with all of that said, next up in the Colonel's timeline is Who Killed Markiplier, where you end up meeting the Colonel. And the reason I think that this is the first time the player you play as in here meets the Colonel is because of the fact that he literally introduces himself to you right once y'all see each other.
My friends call me the Colonel. You're welcome to do the same, should it please you. But, after you.
And then from there, the both of you have a time you will not forget.
So what were you doing at 1:30 a.m.?
It's not fair. It's still in my kitchen!
Better choose your next words carefully, Colonel.
I didn't kill you.
He took everything from us.
Certainly, a time you won't forget. So after Markiplier dies, Damien goes to tell the Colonel, and frankly, the Colonel's still pretty mad at Markiplier for some reason, and ends up not really caring too much about his death. This of course kinda ticks off Damien, but the Colonel doesn't care. And after that scene, we get to see this.
Damien, I don't know. Ah, good to see you again.
When you first enter the room, the Colonel mistakes you for Damien. Why is this so important, you may ask? Well, back in one of my past theories where I talk about Damien's journey, I said that the character you play as in Who Killed Markiplier is most likely another Markiplier ego or like a Markiplier lookalike. And the proof I used for that is the fact that Damien and Celine end up using your body whenever they become Darkiplier, and Darkiplier is a Markiplier ego, so maybe you were also a Markiplier ego if your body was Darkiplier. But after that, a lot of y'all pointed out how right before that scene, it showed Darkiplier as having a girl hand, most likely resembling Celine. So if that hand represented Celine, and in that split second, the Damien video took place, and then that's why all of a sudden it's a boy hand instead after that, then that could mean that the body doesn't look like your body from Who Killed Markiplier, and instead from that point on looks more like Damien's body. And although I do agree with you guys on that, I still think the character you play as is a Markiplier alter ego. Even though my past evidence is wrong, I still believe that this scene right here, where the Colonel first thinks that you're Damien, does support the fact that you could still be a Markiplier alter ego. But at this point, there starts to be a bit of a rivalry between the Colonel and the detective. The detective highly suspects that the Colonel did it, and the Colonel just does not like being accused of stuff. And then from there, Celine enters the picture, does some weird life and death ritual looking stuff with Damien, and they end up dying because of it. This prompts everybody to suddenly have common sense and leave the Markiplier mansion. Well, everybody except for the Colonel. And wherever the Colonel goes, the detective follows, so he is also staying.
I won't let my friends die in this godforsaken house. And if you all are too much of a coward to do the same, you had best leave before I kill you myself. Now you hold on a second, I got more questions. Get your hands off me! What the hell is going on here?
Soon enough, you end up finding the detective's room where he's keeping tabs on everybody. And the main thing that stands out to me here that's Colonel related is this newspaper that says Safari Hunt Gone Wrong. Coast to Coast Confidential. I don't see too much here that adds on or builds on to the Colonel's lore overall. There's also a piece of paper that the detective has been typing on that says the Colonel did it, the Colonel did it, the Colonel did it over and over again. So nothing too groundbreaking. But one fake out transition later and the Colonel appears all angry and mad because he all of a sudden thinks that the detective is the one who murdered his friends. And from there, that prompts the Colonel to shoot the detective on accident. Well, maybe not on accident. But he definitely ends up shooting you on accident, though. And then later, after you rise back up from the dead as Darkiplier, he then goes crazy, thinking death is meaningless, and goes on to be the famous Wilford Mother-Loving Wharfstache. And then timeline-wise, from then on out, for Wilford Wharfstache, also known as the Colonel, it goes Wilford Mother-Loving Wharfstache the cameos for In Space with Markiplier, the Wharfstash affair, the Ned affair, and then Markiplier TV. Now, I do want to bring up something really quickly before we continue with the timeline. The reason I chose the Ned affair and Wharfstash affair to be before Markiplier TV is because in Markiplier TV, Wilford Wharfstash says, like, slept with your wife, talking to you, Jerry. I believe that might be a nod towards the Ned and Wharfstash affairs, where he sleeps with somebody's wife who he ends up killing. But anyways, let's go back to the timeline. Somewhere in between those videos, he has a rivalry with Slenderman for 3 videos, along with lots of his other interviews. And then finally, his cameo in a heist with Markiplier, and after that, we have his cameo in a date with Markiplier. And I almost forgot to mention the Wharfstash automated interview, which I believe is the latest in the timeline. Now, I only skimmed through all of these little cameos and only just gave him a spot in the timeline, because that's not the Colonel, that's just Wilford Wharfstash. It's a different persona, different personality, and just a different name. Even though it's technically the same person, same body, same soul, I'm not counting that as the Colonel, so I just wanted to skim through it pretty quickly. And with that said, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe if you did enjoy, and like I said at the beginning of the video, if you have any ideas on what you want me to do for future videos, please put them in the comments below, and I'll get around to doing them eventually. After all, you guys are the heart and soul of this channel. So I will see y'all in the next video. Goodbye.